It was a tumultuous relationship that ended in murder. Nearly 3 months ago, the shooting of Shakeia Allen was captured on cell phone video.
I have a restraining order on you.
The video put on social media is troubling. What happened to this 27-year-old woman is extremely disturbing.
New information tonight about a woman gunned down in a Parkville apartment complex over the weekend. As WMER2 News' Jeff Hager reports, the victim had recently been involved in a domestic violence dispute.
Thank you for tuning in to The Criminal Thread. Together we can ensure these victims are never forgotten and justice is served, one story at a time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay updated on more gripping true crime stories. It was a seemingly ordinary Friday evening when Shakeia Allen, a vibrant 27-year-old woman, disappeared. Her family's worst fears would soon come to pass as they learned that Shakeia had been murdered by someone she once trusted with her life. The man responsible for this brutal crime, Amir Johnson, her boyfriend. What seemed like a relationship full of promise ended in heartbreak, betrayal, and a painful search for justice. Shakeia had always been the life of any room she entered. Known for her infectious energy and warm smile, she was loved by friends and family alike. She had dreams of opening her own business and was determined to make something of herself. Despite the challenges that came her way, Shakeia was optimistic and determined to succeed. However, things started to change in her relationship with Amir. Shakeia, like many women in similar situations, struggled to see the signs of the toxicity that had begun to infiltrate her life. She believed in the good in Amir, perhaps more than she should have. But as time passed, her friends and family began to notice troubling behavior, unexplained bruises, sudden mood swings, and most telling of all, her increasing isolation. She had begun to pull away from the people who loved her the most, and even the future she once envisioned seemed to be slipping away. Amir, the man she had chosen to share her life with, had always been charming at first. His charisma captivated Shakeia, and he made her feel special, loved, and cared for. But behind closed doors, the man she thought she knew was showing a different side, one that was controlling, manipulative, and occasionally violent. Shakeia's friends and family begged her to leave him, warning her that he was bad news. But Shakeia, ever hopeful, held on to the belief that Amir could change. Unfortunately, she would learn the hard way that some people can't be changed. In the months leading up to Shakeia's disappearance, tensions grew between the couple. Friends reported that Shakeia seemed more fearful, more withdrawn, and even though she was desperately trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy, those who loved her could see that something was terribly wrong. Shakeia had begun to talk less about her relationship with Amir and had even stopped seeing her friends as frequently. Something was amiss, but no one could pinpoint exactly what it was. Amir's violent tendencies, which had been building for months, reached a breaking point one evening, a night that would change everything for Shakeia and her family forever. It was a night like any other. Shakeia had made plans to meet her friends for dinner. She was excited to spend time with them, laugh, and escape the emotional weight she had been carrying, but she never showed up. Her friends waited at the restaurant, but Shakeia was a no-show. Her phone went straight to voicemail when they tried to contact her. Her social media activity abruptly stopped, and the few messages she had posted earlier in the day were mysteriously deleted. Her absence wasn't just strange, it was alarming. Shakeia's family quickly became worried. They knew something wasn't right. When Shakeia didn't return home by the next morning, they reported her missing. The clock was ticking, and everyone feared the worst. Amir, too, seemed concerned. He claimed that he had been with Shakeia the night she disappeared. He told the police that they had gotten into a heated argument at her apartment, and after a tense exchange, he left. When he returned the next day, she was gone. Amir's story sounded rehearsed, and his behavior raised suspicion. He seemed almost too calm, too collected, as if he already knew the outcome of the situation. The police, however, didn't jump to conclusions immediately. They began their investigation by following up on the leads and conducting interviews with Shakeia's friends and family. But as they dug deeper, they began to realize that Amir's version of events didn't hold up. As the days went by, Shakeia's family grew more desperate for answers. It wasn't like her to vanish without a trace. She had always stayed in close contact with her loved ones. Her phone records and social media accounts, however, painted a different picture. The trail led back to Amir, the man who had claimed to care for her. The police began to dig into Amir's past, and what they uncovered was chilling. Amir had a history of violence and abusive behavior, much of it directed toward women. In fact, he had been arrested for domestic assault in a previous relationship, though charges were never filed. Friends of Shakeia came forward, recounting instances where they had witnessed Amir's temper and controlling behavior. They had seen Shakeia become increasingly isolated, cutting ties with friends and family who had once been her support system. Some even speculated that Amir might be involved in her disappearance, but they didn't have enough concrete evidence to make an accusation. Meanwhile, Shakeia's family held on to hope. They couldn't believe that Amir, the man who had once seemed so loving, could be involved in her disappearance. But as the evidence started to mount, their worst fears began to take shape. A break in the case came when a team of investigators uncovered surveillance footage from a nearby building. The footage clearly showed Amir entering Shakeia's apartment the night she went missing, around the time of the argument he had mentioned in his statement. In addition, bloodstains were found in Amir's car, and forensic evidence linked him to the crime scene. It became evident that Shakeia had been murdered strangled, to be precise, and that Amir was the prime suspect. 5 days after Shakeia's disappearance, a body was found in an abandoned building on the outskirts of the city. The discovery was heartbreaking. Shakeia had been brutally murdered and left to die in a cold, desolate place. The pain her family must have felt when they received the news is unimaginable. Amir was arrested soon after the discovery of Shakeia's body. He denied any involvement in her death, but the evidence against him was irrefutable. His lies and inconsistencies crumbled under the weight of the investigation. The bloodstains, the surveillance footage, and the forensic evidence all pointed to Amir as the murderer. The trial that followed was a traumatic experience for Shakeia's family. It was an emotional roller coaster that forced them to relive the horror of their loved one's final moments. The prosecution laid out a compelling case, detailing Amir's violent history and the premeditated nature of Shakeia's murder. They argued that Amir had killed Shakeia after a violent argument, possibly spurred by jealousy or fear of losing her. During the trial, the defense tried to paint Amir as a victim of circumstance. They claimed that Shakeia had planned to leave him and that their argument had escalated into violence. They tried to shift the blame, but the jury wasn't convinced. It was clear that Amir had planned Shakeia's murder in cold blood. Shakeia's family, though devastated, remained strong throughout the trial. They sat through every painful moment, knowing that justice for their daughter was at stake. In the end, Amir was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. It was a small measure of justice, but it could never bring Shakeia back. Shakeia's family, while grateful for the conviction, knew that their fight wasn't over. They had lost a daughter, a sister, a friend, a bright, talented woman with so much potential. No amount of justice could ever undo the pain they felt, but they vowed to use their grief for a greater purpose. In a heartfelt public statement, Shakeia's family made an urgent plea for justice not just for Shakeia, but for all victims of domestic violence. They called on others to speak up, to recognize the warning signs of abusive relationships, and to take action before it's too late. Shakeia's story was tragically one of many, but it was a story that needed to be told. No one should have to endure what Shakeia went through, her mother said, her voice trembling with emotion. We can't bring her back, but we can raise awareness, and we can help save others from the same fate. Shakeia's family became advocates for domestic violence awareness, working to ensure that other women would not have to suffer in silence as their daughter had. They started campaigns, supported local shelters, and spoke out about the importance of recognizing the signs of abuse. They made it their mission to honor Shakeia's memory by fighting for the rights and safety of others. Shakeia's case serves as a stark reminder of the dangers many women face in abusive relationships. While Amir may be behind bars, the pain his actions cause will never go away. Shakeia's family continues to mourn, but they also continue to fight for justice, knowing that their daughter's story can help bring change. If you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, it's crucial to seek help. There are countless resources available, from hotlines to support groups, all designed to offer assistance and protection. Domestic violence is never the fault of the victim, and there are people out there who want to help. This case is far from over. Shakeia's story may have ended in tragedy, but the fight for justice and awareness is just beginning. Share her story. Speak up for her.